So this is my first review video about something that I purchased in the last year. This is It's Just Lunch review, and this is a very honest review. I did not get paid. It's Just Lunch doesn't even know I'm doing this. Um, and my overall review of It's Just Lunch is more negative than positive, but it is still positive. So let's begin. And also, this is going to be a multi-part series for It's Just Lunch. I would say that there's a lot to go over, and I'm going to go over the groundwork of why I did it initially and what fundamental things that I kind of thought in my head after I saw some other reviewers, whether it be video reviews on YouTube, Reddit posts, other reviews of people, or Google reviews. Um, I will say that It's Just Lunch is a very complex understanding of things. Let's begin. So, first of all, It's Just Lunch is a company and a franchise. However, even though it's in multiple cities, and you can, after you sign up, you can say I can start in I don't know DC and then move to New York whenever you want, as long as you're under that subscription. Um, Now that being said, I reviewed It's Just Lunch because I did have some lawsuits in the past with some unethical, immoral practices. Now, I went through the Chicago region, and the Chicago region did not have any lawsuits. So I thought, maybe the Chicago region, while it's independent from the other ones, maybe because they didn't have a lawsuit, maybe they would be more ethical because they were not sued yet. So that it's kind of hard to say still, and you'll determine for yourself if they should be sued or maybe you should not use them or whatever. So how I got into it or how I got notified about it is I went on a date in March and I got catfished. I went on a date. Woman didn't look like a woman, didn't have the same height, bad teeth, didn't explain. After the date, most dates you call your best friend up and say, "Hey, date went bad or good. Let's talk about it," etc. Talked to my buddy, and he was like, "Yeah, there's this thing called It's Just Lunch, but it's kind of expensive." And I was like, "Oh, really?" So it's like, you know what? I've been doing Tinder for a while, did Bumble at one time, did Plenty of Fish back in the day. I said, screw it. I was making good money at the time, made good money last year, had some savings up, and I said, you know what? It can't be that expensive as long as it's not over $4,000. I was like, let's do it. And at that time, while he's telling me, I'm, signing up on my laptop, as I'm on my laptop right now, and I'm filling out the thing. And the next day at work, luckily, because of what I do, I'm able to take phone calls at work. Lady calls me up and gives me an interview. Interviews me over the phone. I gave her honest answers of who I am. At the time, I was 33 years of age, single. I'm a white male. I do live in Indiana, not in Chicago, in the Northwest Indiana area. And I did tell her my hobbies, what I'm into, what I do for work, what I made last year, but what I'm projected to make this year as well, which both incomes, whether it be more last year or less this year, were suitable for It's Just Lunch. Um, or that was at least to my understanding. And I've also said that, like, what kind of women I'm into, age ranges, my height, what I can pick one woman out of a crowd. Either I usually say tone of voice or a good pair of eyes. And they immediately said, we have two women for you. We have Miss J and Miss K. And I'm trying to, like, not give away their names. And I was like, okay, well, tell me about them. They told me about their height and their weight and what they did. And at the time, I said my preferences were someone who's active, doesn't necessarily have to be going to the gym, but someone who's more cognizant of their health. Someone who is petite, someone who is shorter than me. I'm 5'9", so there's a lot of women under 5'9", and someone who doesn't have to be successful but works, and that's it. I had read the reviews on Reddit, and all it was mainly women reviewing It's Just Lunch and saying, well, I didn't have a guy that it was exactly 6 foot, or I didn't have a guy that was doing good enough at his job. He was only an emergency service person. And I have a more lucrative job than that, but is it a better job? Hard to say. Probably to most people's eyes, but that doesn't matter to me. I mean, that's being overly picky. So I kind of came into this It's Just Lunch thing thinking, okay, I'm going to be not overly picky. I'm going to be very open-minded. I'm going to try to limit my boundaries, my box per se, and I'm going to try to only go after women that maybe I find more physically attractive, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't be open-minded to someone a little bit outside of the box to try to get a relationship with or go on dates with. And while and then I looked at guys who did YouTube reviews, and they had experiences where they didn't really have a lot of dates, and the dates they went on were they seemed short-lived, and they didn't seem to be. But the guy, him himself in the video, he didn't seem very social or analytical or how do I put it? He didn't seem to be able to have good social skills in general. He was using vanilla terms, wasn't having complex thoughts at the same time of making other points in his argument and his review. So I'm not trying to be too critical of him. That's just who he is. I'm just saying that if you want to express yourself and communicate to another person very clearly, there is a skill for that, and I have some of those skills, and some of those are good for when you date people because you can clearly make points of who you are quickly and develop personal skills and just get to know people. So moving forward, I talked to the lady, told her who I was, they told me of 2 dates possible, and then they basically said, I was led on to believe until the last month that it was a 12-month term, and my cost was $3,400. And I thought to myself, well, like I said, I made good money in the past, and I did really, really well last year. I was in over top 10% of Americans last year. But I wasn't doing great this year, but job switch. But I was doing really good at the time, so I was like, screw it. You know what? It's an investment. Let's do it one time, and maybe I'll make a review video afterwards. And so I did it, and I bought it. And you want to really want to make sure that you understand the terms really well. All it says that they're guaranteeing you is the dates, X amount of dates, 1 date a month, per the month amount of terms that you do. And I actually found out later that it was actually only 6 months. So I thought it was extremely expensive for 12. It's even more extremely expensive for the 6. But I'm glad it was only 6 to start off, because 12 months is a long, long commitment, and my drive in Chicago from Indiana is about an hour. And they told me I had to be open-minded to people all over the Chicagoland region, whether it be northern suburbs, western suburbs, southern suburbs, my area, and all of the other dates had to be just as open-minded as well. So knowing that, going into that purchase, I said, okay, no problem. I will be open-minded. I don't mind driving an hour to go see the love of my life if that's who she is, and if we connect. I don't try to come off desperate while saying that, but I got to learn a lot about myself. So, this is just the beginning of learning about it's just lunch. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. I am currently with someone and I'm very happy with someone, but I did not find them in It's Just Lunch. I knew them previously and we ended up being in a relationship after It's Just Lunch because I went through this experience. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.